And a new tool that I think is pretty slick, and I wish I had it when I was still managing jobs, that Pronovo's just created, is this function called Procore Sync. I think I would guess most people have run into Procore if they've been a subcontractor working for a GC. It's kind of the big monster in the space of the software that general contractors use. And it was always difficult as a subcontractor for me to interface with it, because while it's a really powerful tool, it is definitely a tool for general contractors. So as a subcontractor, if I was working with 3 different GCs that all had different Procore accounts, I was having to constantly toggle between the both of them. I was getting inundated with dozens of email notifications a day, whether it be submittal updates, RFI updates. It was really almost became a job in itself for my project engineers, just to kind of manage all that communication back and forth with the general contractor's Procore. So what you're able to do in Pronovo to kind of help you deal with that is, if you go back to your project list and open this Sync Manager tool, what you're going to see here is a tool that allows you to basically authenticate your Procore account. So when you sign into your Procore account, it's basically going to pull all the projects that you have access to in Procore. So again, let's say you are working with 3 different general contractors that all have separate Procore accounts. It's going to pull each of those projects in here. And then what you can do is you can select that project and say, hey, I want that project to sync up with this one here. And you can basically create a tie between those 2 projects. So as a GC updates any information related to that project in Procore, it's automatically going to flow into Pronovo's and enter it for you. So you're not having to do that manual update. You don't run the risk of missing any critical updates. It's basically taking that whole step out of the process for you. So let's go into the Arrowhead job and see what that looks like. We're going to look at the RFIs. So if I go to RFIs, you'll see I have 2 tabs on the top here. I have one for my RFIs and one for Procore RFIs. So the my RFIs, those are ones that I've created in Pronovo. Questions that I have about my scope of work that I've sent off to the general contractor to get answers on. The Procore RFIs, these are going to be all the RFIs within Procore that the general contractor has sent to me. So rather than having to log into their Procore account to view these RFIs, I can look them within my own platform. So I can stay in one location to see all the relevant information related to the project. So let's say I wanted to look at this RFI number 1, conflicting details on rebar spacing. I can click it, and it's basically going to display exactly what that RFI looks like in Procore. So now I can kind of see, okay, here was the original question. This was the response. So I know the rebar should be 6 inches on center. And very quickly, I'm getting that information. I'm not having to leave one platform to go to another. It's all in one location. And you can do things like this filter on a responsible contractor. So let's say I only want to know what are the RFIs that Pronovo's is the responsible contractor. I can apply that filter, and it's quickly going to take those RFIs and narrow it down to the ones that only impact me. So that's the first way that you can pull a Procore or a general contractor's Procore information into Pronovo's, is just that very simple, hey, let me see all the RFIs that they have within their Procore account. The second way, and perhaps the more powerful way, is linking 2 RFIs together. So if we revisit that rebar spacing RFI, let's say that's an RFI that I created that I needed an answer on. So I created it in Pronovo's, I sent it off to the general contractor, they've gone in and they created that identical RFI within Procore. And now they're sending updates to that RFI through their Procore account. So when I get the answer to that RFI, I'm now having to manually take it and enter it in Pronovo's. So what you can do instead with the Procore Sync is you can turn on the Procore Sync, and then right here, you can see a drop-down list of what are all the different RFIs within Procore. I can say, hey, I want that number 1 conflicting details on rebar spacing. And what it's going to do is it's going to sync all of the information related to your RFI based on what got logged in Procore. So now we can see, hey, this is all the information that the GC entered in Procore. What I originally filled out for the RFI is preserved on the right. So I can see, hey, did the GC change something? Maybe they referenced a different drawing number. They referenced 4.35, but I was really worried about 4.32. little things like that, you can kind of just keep a record of to see if anything changed. But then the real power of it is this down at the bottom here, where these replies are automatically going to get logged in. So let's say I sent it off to the GC, my RFI, hey, one detail shows the concrete rebar is 8 inches on center, the other is 6 inches on center, which is correct. Now that the GC has in their Procore, Todd Brown says, hey, the rebar should be 6 inches on center, they're going to send out a Procore notification. But rather than relying on myself or my project engineer to make sure I capture that and log it into Pronovos, it's automatically going to pull it directly from Procore. So it's completely removing that whole process of double entry for you to make sure all that information gets logged and is reported in the right location. So right now, what we have is the Procore Sync is working for both RFIs and submittals. We're currently also doing it for drawings. That's something we hope to have within the next month. That's kind of what I've always said is the big one, getting those drawing bulletins from the GC. It can always be kind of a bit of a process to download them and upload them into your own system. So as we roll that out, you would see it. So if any new drawings get uploaded into Procore, you would kind of see that same functionality where it would automatically sync and get tied to your Pronovos account.